Because it is my guilt, I claim you, grievous miracle. Make my chest hurt with regret. Forge your punishment and nail it deep. Shape my guilt once again.
The word Metroidvania is absolutely ridiculous. It jams the name of two different games together to describe its own genre. Imagine if other media did something like that. It's not high fantasy, it's Game of Rings. It's not action movies, it's Rambinator. It's not Lunch, it's Sandad. Anyone outside of video games who heard the name Metroidvania would have no idea what the hell you were talking about. But inside of video games, the term Metroidvania, while being pretty silly, is an apt descriptor. Without the name Metroidvania, we'd probably be calling these games 2D action side-scrollers with an emphasis on exploration and item collection with RPG mechanics. It just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Thankfully, we can refer to these games as Metroidvanias. Metroidvania being a portmanteau of Metroid and Castlevania, two classic and well-known game franchises within the video game universe, two game series that both feature 2D action with side-scrolling, an emphasis on exploration, and item collection with RPG mechanics. Sounds familiar. Blasphemous is a Metroidvania game released on the 10th of September 2019 by Spanish game studio The Game Kitchen and published by Team 17. It's currently available on Nintendo Switch, PC, PS4, and Xbox One. The game had initially been announced on Kickstarter on May 23rd of 2017, but The Game Kitchen had begun early work on the game back in November of 2016. The Game Kitchen is a small team based out of Seville, Spain, and a Spanish flavor is definitely noticeable in the game. Francisco de Goya is one of the influences for the art direction on the game, and looking at pieces like A Procession of Flagellants and The Inquisition Tribunal make this very apparent. The gameplay is heavily reminiscent of those greats of the genre like Symphony of the Night and Metroid 3. You explore a massive interconnected landscape comprised of massive churches, decaying towns, failing ruins, suffocating swamps, and dark forests. Every bit of the location is beautifully rendered 2D pixel art, and the sprite work is just as detailed and gorgeous. But when I say gorgeous, I need to stress that while gorgeous, the artwork is also terrifying, gory, and blasphemous. Every single thing in the world of Blasphemous is framed in suffering, draped in guilt, and anguished by absolute sorrow. The player's in-game progression is likewise dripping with the same twisted Catholic-inspired imagery. You level up your sword skills, mea culpa, at these giant shrines. These combat skills are paid for with a unique currency called Tears of Atonement. You can improve your stats and abilities by equipping rosary beads. You can further augment your abilities by collecting relics. These usually alter gameplay directly. For example, the Silvered Lung of Dolphos makes the player invulnerable to poison mist, which blocks several locations. Even the player's design has this bizarre Catholicism-inspired art design, including a Christ-like effigy on your sword hilt and a religious conical hat complete with a crown of thorns that twists up and around it. Combat involves swordplay, special attacks, and magic attacks called prayers. Instead of magic points, you have a force called fervor that powers your prayers and some other special attacks. You can increase your fervor by anointing yourself with the oil of the pilgrims, which can be found hidden throughout the world. Death lurks within every shadow, and you're gonna die a lot. This is where the game pays homage to the Dark Souls series of games. Within the game world, you will find checkpoints called Prie-Dieu. Interacting with one will refill your health and save your game. If you die, you will be resurrected at the last Prie-Dieu you inspected. When you die, you leave behind an effigy of guilt, and this will seal a portion of your fervor until retrieved. Prie-Dieu will also refill your bile flasks, a healing item similar to Estus flasks in Dark Souls, but it's literally just a container of god blood that you smash on your face. The world is also full of many collectibles. Along with the aforementioned rosary beads, relics, fervor upgrades, and bile upgrades, you can also collect bones of ancient religious figures, sword cores, and other in-game items. A lot of the items have secondary or secret uses. A lot of them seem to be story related, so I won't spoil anything, but the Immaculate Bead is a favorite. You will also occasionally notice cherubim locked in flying golden cages throughout the game. They are usually hard to reach, and you'll need to return to them later after gaining upgrades for your movement and reach. Combat can be very methodical. Seeing the game for the first time, you might make a comparison to Dead Cells. This is erroneous, however, as Blasphemous is not as high speed and as loose as the combat in Dead Cells. Actions carry weight, and you will want to make every sword stroke or jump matter. Playing fast and loose in Blasphemous is going to get you killed over and over and over again. Making use of the parry button will help you dispatch some of the harder enemies faster, but you'll want to make sure you practice on weaker mobs for a while at first. There are a lot of systems in this game, and you will really want to take the time to master each and every one so that you can get ahead. The story of Blasphemous is absolutely wonderful. It's dark and brutal, but also somewhat minimalist. The main character is a silent protagonist, but it actually makes sense this time because as a character in-game, he's taken a vow of silence. Additionally, a lot of the story is buried deep in optionally read lore. You'll undoubtedly enjoy the dark and twisted religious minimalism on its own, but digging deep into the lore opens up so much additional story and world building that you'd be foolish to actually skip it. You take control of the Penitent One, the last member of the Brotherhood of the Silent Sorrow. He and his congregation have taken a vow of silence as part of their religious duties. As the last surviving member of your Brotherhood, you take leave of your fallen brethren and enter the twisted and anguished world of Custodia. On your travels, you will meet both friend and foe who are embraced and tangled in the dogmatic suffering and blight of this dark world. The wound kissers of Albero are sworn to stay with the dying and kiss their wounds until they pass on. The Sisters of Our Lady of the Charred Visage will attempt to batter and destroy you with morning stars made from cremation urns. Viridiana is a healer who will help you during boss battles at literally the cost of her own youth. And there is more, much, much more. Even the humblest of enemies and NPCs have dark and anguished backstories. Blasphemous is truly an incredible Metroidvania. The gameplay is great, but the story and world building is outstanding. The game itself is very entertaining and super playable. There is this perfect balance of old school and modern action and sensibility. The game is hard, but not out of this world hard. You will die a lot, but you will also feel that almost every death was fair. The vast array of collectibles will have you searching every single corner of the world with an absolute fervor of your own. The graphics are very well done and provide an excellent delivery system for the twisted and blasphemous art of the game. The music is restrained and sullen, but fits the mood incredibly. Every shred of this game is woven into a beautiful and grotesque tapestry. Blasphemous is truly an example of art.